The Eternal Bridge, Paul Hogan's lasting legacies. In the vast landscape of human achievement, few individuals create legacies that transcend their own lifetimes to become permanent parts of the cultural DNA that shapes how future generations understand possibility, authenticity, and the power of staying true to yourself while serving others. Paul Hogan's extraordinary journey represents the creation of such an eternal bridge, connecting not just places and cultures, but past and future, dreams and reality, ordinary beginnings and extraordinary impact. This is the inspiring exploration of how a bridge worker's understanding of connection, construction, and endurance created something far more lasting than any physical structure, a legacy of authentic achievement that continues to influence how people approach their own lives, challenges, and opportunities for contribution long after his active career has ended. Most remarkably, Paul's lasting impact extends beyond entertainment industry success to encompass fundamental shifts in cultural confidence, international relationships, and the very understanding of what it means to represent your homeland with dignity while remaining authentically yourself. His work built bridges that continue to carry traffic between Australia and the world, between different generations of artists and entertainers, and between the cynical view that success requires compromise and the hopeful recognition that authenticity can achieve more than artifice. This is the story of how one man's commitment to building rather than burning, connecting rather than dividing, and serving rather than exploiting created ripple effects that continue to expand decades after their initial impact. Paul's legacy demonstrates that the most meaningful monuments are not physical structures, but the positive changes you create in how people think about themselves, their potential, and their responsibility to contribute something valuable to the world they temporarily inhabit. Through his pioneering work in cultural ambassadorship, his mentorship of emerging talent, his demonstration that authentic character can achieve international success, and his proof that ordinary people can accomplish extraordinary things through dedication and service, Paul built an eternal bridge between what was and what could be, showing future generations that the limitations they perceive may be less real than the possibilities they haven't yet imagined. Chapter 1, The Foundation of Forever. The eternal nature of Paul Hogan's legacy begins with his recognition that the most enduring achievements are those that serve others rather than yourself, create value that compounds over time rather than providing immediate gratification, and establish foundations strong enough to support the dreams and aspirations of people who haven't even been born yet. I never thought my little film would become a cultural icon. I'm incredibly grateful for the love and support from audiences throughout the years, Paul reflected during a recent public appearance, but this statement understates the profound impact he achieved by approaching his work as service to others rather than personal advancement, creating entertainment that enhanced rather than diminished the cultures it touched. The foundation of Paul's eternal legacy was built on his understanding that authentic representation of his homeland could serve Australia's interests while entertaining international audiences, proving that cultural ambassadorship doesn't require sacrifice of identity, but rather confident expression of your best qualities in ways that create connection rather than division. There are millions of people around the world who first learned about Australia through Crocodile Dundee and Paul Hogan, and I don't think that's a bad thing. Into the bus to the world he really did. We became proud to be fair dinkum Aussies after Paul Hogan, capturing the cultural transformation that Paul facilitated both internationally and within Australia itself. The longevity of Paul's cultural impact demonstrates that work motivated by genuine love for your subject matter and authentic desire to share positive experiences with others creates value that transcends temporary entertainment trends or commercial success to become permanent parts of how people understand different cultures and possibilities. Before that, there was this terrible cultural cringe, and we were the Antipodean rejects, and we're not living in the real world, but Paul's success in representing Australia authentically while achieving international recognition proved that cultural distinctiveness could be an asset rather than a limitation when expressed with confidence and skill. The educational impact of Paul's work continues to influence how Australia approaches international relations, cultural exchange, and national identity, as his demonstration that authentic character could achieve global respect without sacrificing local values established templates that guide cultural diplomacy decades after his peak career years. Before I got into television and entertainment, working on the bridge was a huge advantage because it gave me a perspective. You know, God Almighty, I was scraping to pay the rent when I was 30. Paul noted about his working-class origins, but this background became the foundation for representing ordinary people's potential rather than elite privilege, making his success accessible inspiration rather than distant achievement. The democratic nature of Paul's appeal, his ability to connect with people regardless of their background, education, or social status, created lasting impact because it validated the worth and potential of audiences who might otherwise view success as reserved for people unlike themselves. You imagine the courage it took for him to climb off the bridge, go on that show. Observers noted about Paul's transition from manual labor to entertainment, But this courage became a permanent example for others facing their own transitions from familiar circumstances to unknown possibilities that might transform their lives and communities. The infrastructure that Paul helped create for Australian entertainment increased international recognition, enhanced distribution opportunities, improved industry credibility, continues to benefit subsequent generations of artists and entertainers who build on foundations he established through his pioneering work. The values that Paul consistently represented throughout his career, fairness, humor, practical intelligence, authentic expression, became permanently associated with positive Australian character in ways that continue to influence international perceptions and domestic cultural confidence. The business models that Paul and John Cornell developed for independent film production, international distribution, and cultural promotion created templates that other entertainment entrepreneurs could adapt for their own projects, multiplying his impact beyond his individual achievements. The mentorship relationships that Paul developed throughout his career created networks of influence that continue to generate opportunities and collaboration long after his direct involvement, as people he helped became positioned to help others in turn, creating expanding circles of positive impact. The technological and creative innovations that emerged from Paul's projects, approaches to comedy, methods of cultural representation, techniques for international marketing, became permanent additions to entertainment industry knowledge that continue to inform how authentic local content can achieve global success. Chapter 2, Cultural DNA That Never Dies. Paul Hogan's most profound legacy lies in his transformation of Australia's cultural DNA, the fundamental programming that determines how a nation sees itself and presents itself to the world. This impact operates at such a deep level that it has become indistinguishable from authentic Australian identity, creating positive associations that will influence international relationships for generations to come. The shift from cultural cringe to cultural confidence that Paul facilitated through his work represents a permanent psychological transformation that changed not just how Australians were perceived internationally, but how they perceived themselves and their right to take their place on the global stage with pride rather than apology. We became proud to be fair dinkum Aussies after Paul Hogan, but this pride wasn't manufactured nationalism or artificial cultural promotion. It was authentic recognition that Australian character possessed valuable qualities worth celebrating and sharing with others who might benefit from exposure to different approaches to life and problem solving. The international awareness of Australian culture that Paul created through his entertainment work established permanent curiosity and positive associations that continue to benefit Australia's tourism industry, business relationships, cultural exchange programs, and diplomatic initiatives decades after his peak celebrity years. The template that Paul established for Australian success on the international stage, authenticity over artifice, service over self-promotion, collaboration over competition, became part of the cultural instruction manual that guides how subsequent Australian figures approach global opportunities and representation. It was famous Australian, and it was Mick Dundee. Paul noted about the lasting impact of his cultural ambassadorship, demonstrating how effective authentic representation can create permanent positive associations that transcend individual careers or specific projects. The economic benefits that flow from positive cultural associations, increased tourism, enhanced business relationships, improved market access for Australian products and services, represent ongoing returns on the cultural investment that Paul made through his commitment to authentic representation of his homeland's character and values. The educational impact of Paul's work continues to influence how cultural exchange programs are designed, how international students choose their destinations, and how business partnerships are formed based on positive impressions of Australian character that Paul helped establish through his entertainment success. The diplomatic advantages that Australia enjoys through Paul's cultural legacy include enhanced soft power in international negotiations, increased goodwill in multilateral relationships, and improved credibility in cultural and educational initiatives that benefit from positive associations with Australian character and values. The creative confidence that Paul's success instilled in subsequent generations of Australian artists and entertainers has generated ongoing cultural production that builds on foundations he established, creating expanding circles of influence that multiply his original impact through diverse artistic expressions and cultural contributions. The language itself, phrases like "that's not a knife, that's a knife," and "shrimp on the Barbie," became permanently embedded in international understanding of Australian expression, creating ongoing cultural bridges that facilitate communication and connection between Australians and global audiences. The tourism infrastructure and promotional strategies that were developed to capitalize on Paul's cultural impact created permanent improvements in how Australia presents itself to international visitors, establishing expectations and delivery systems that continue to benefit the tourism industry long after his direct involvement.
The academic and cultural institutions that study Australian identity, international relations, and cultural diplomacy continue to reference Paul's work as foundational example of how authentic cultural representation can achieve diplomatic and economic results that formal government programs might never accomplish. The business relationship patterns that were established through positive cultural associations created by Paul's work continue to influence how international partners approach Australian companies and opportunities, providing ongoing economic advantages that compound over time through repeat business and referral networks. The media representation norms that Paul established, showing Australian characters as competent, humorous, and worthy of respect, permanently altered international entertainment industry expectations about how Australians could be portrayed, creating opportunities for future performers and content creators. The psychological impact on Australian self-perception created by Paul's international success established permanent cultural confidence that influences how Australians approach global opportunities, international relationships, and cultural expression in all fields of endeavor, not just entertainment. The generational transmission of cultural pride and confidence that Paul facilitated continues to influence how Australian parents raise their children, how educators approach cultural identity in schools, and how community leaders develop programs that celebrate rather than apologize for distinctive Australian character and achievements. Chapter 3. The Ripple Effect Across Generations. Paul Hogan's legacy operates through a powerful ripple effect that continues to expand across generations, as each cohort of people influenced by his work creates their own contributions that multiply his original impact, while maintaining the core values and approaches that made his success both meaningful and sustainable. The entertainment industry transformation that Paul initiated through his international success created pathways and opportunities that subsequent generations of Australian performers have used to develop their own careers, while building on foundations he established through his pioneering work in cultural ambassadorship and authentic representation.
I would say that he keeps the charm of Crocodile Dundee, although it's a completely different character. It's likable and funny, noting how Paul's influence continues to inform character development and performance approaches that honor his legacy while allowing contemporary artists to develop their own distinctive voices and contributions. The mentorship relationships that Paul developed throughout his career created networks of influence that continue to generate opportunities and collaboration as people he helped become positioned to help others in turn, creating expanding circles of positive impact that reach people who never met Paul directly but benefit from his influence through intermediary connections. The cultural confidence that Paul helped establish within Australia has influenced multiple generations of artists, entrepreneurs, and cultural figures who approach their work with expectations of international success rather than limitations based on geographical location or cultural origin, transforming possibility thinking across diverse fields of endeavor. The business models and creative approaches that Paul and his collaborators developed for independent production, international distribution, and cultural promotion have been adapted and refined by subsequent entrepreneurs who build on his innovations while addressing contemporary opportunities and challenges. The educational institutions and programs that were inspired by Paul's success in bridging cultures continue to develop curricula and exchange opportunities that facilitate international understanding and collaboration, multiplying his impact through systematic cultural and educational programming that reaches thousands of students and professionals. The tourism industry developments that capitalized on Paul's cultural impact established infrastructure and promotional strategies that continue to benefit from positive associations he created, while also serving as foundations for ongoing tourism innovation and destination development that builds on his original cultural bridge building. The diplomatic relationships and cultural exchange programs that were enhanced by positive associations created through Paul's work continue to facilitate international cooperation and understanding, providing ongoing benefits in trade negotiations, educational partnerships, and multilateral initiatives that serve Australian national interests. The technological and creative innovations that emerge from Paul's projects have been incorporated into entertainment industry standard practices, influencing how authentic local content is developed, marketed, and distributed globally, creating permanent improvements in how cultural products achieve international success. The research and academic study of Paul's cultural impact continues to generate insights about effective cultural diplomacy, authentic representation, and the relationship between entertainment success and national soft power, creating knowledge that informs policy development and cultural programming across multiple institutions. The charitable and community initiatives that were inspired by Paul's commitment to service and contribution, but continue to address social needs and provide opportunities for others to follow his example of using success as a platform for helping others rather than just personal advancement or recognition. The language and cultural expressions that Paul popularized continue to facilitate communication and connection between Australians and international audiences, creating ongoing opportunities for cultural exchange and understanding that transcend specific industries or formal diplomatic channels. The psychological and social research that studies the impact of positive cultural representation on community confidence and achievement continues to demonstrate the lasting benefits of Paul's approach to authentic cultural ambassadorship, providing evidence that guides future cultural development and representation strategies. The international business networks and partnerships that were facilitated by positive cultural associations created through Paul's work continue to generate economic opportunities and collaboration that benefit multiple industries and communities, creating ongoing returns on his cultural investment that compound over time. The creative inspiration that Paul's success provides to emerging artists and entrepreneurs continues to motivate people facing similar transitions from ordinary circumstances to extraordinary opportunities, demonstrating that background doesn't determine potential when combined with authentic character and commitment to serving others. The family and community impact of Paul's legacy includes influence on how parents encourage their children's ambitions, how educators approach possibility thinking in their teaching, and how community leaders develop programs that celebrate local character while building international connections and opportunities. Chapter 4, The Template for Authentic Success. Paul Hogan's approach to achieving and maintaining success has become a permanent template that continues to guide individuals and organizations seeking to build meaningful achievements that serve others while honoring their authentic values and characteristics. This template transcends entertainment industry applications to provide wisdom for anyone facing the challenge of pursuing ambitious goals without sacrificing their integrity. The foundation of Paul's success template begins with accepting and even celebrating your authentic characteristics, rather than attempting to transform yourself into someone else's definition of what success should look like, proving that distinctiveness can be an asset when expressed with confidence and skill, rather than viewed as limitation. So his life to me is all about a fundamentally very sound, grounded human being who had the courage to live the dream, capturing the essential elements of Paul's template: strong character foundation, practical wisdom, and willingness to pursue ambitious goals while maintaining connection to core values and authentic identity. The collaborative approach that characterized Paul's most successful project demonstrates that sustainable achievement often requires building authentic relationships with people who share your values and vision, rather than attempting to dominate projects through individual control or artificial superiority over colleagues and partners. The service orientation that guided Paul's approach to cultural ambassadorship established a template for using personal success as platform for contributing to collective benefit rather than just individual advancement, proving that purpose-driven achievement creates more sustainable satisfaction than purely self-centered goals. John was egalitarian, and he was also values-driven, and he did things for the good of all, and so that's what drove him, describing the partnership philosophy that guided Paul's most successful collaborative relationships and continues to inform how effective teamwork and creative partnership can be structured to serve multiple parties' interests. The patience and persistence that Paul demonstrated throughout his career development provide a template for approaching long-term goals with sustainable effort rather than desperate urgency, showing how steady progress guided by clear values can achieve more than dramatic gestures motivated by impatience or external pressure. The adaptability that Paul showed throughout different phases of his career demonstrates how authentic success requires willingness to evolve and grow while maintaining core characteristics, providing a template for navigating life transitions and industry changes without losing your essential identity or values. He still thinks like a rigger, and he gets offered work a lot, and he doesn't have to take it because he's beyond retirement age, but he still likes making people laugh. He likes entertaining people, showing how authentic success creates options rather than obligations, allowing you to choose opportunities that align with your values rather than feeling pressured to accept everything offered. The humility that Paul maintained despite extraordinary success provides a template for handling recognition and achievement without losing perspective, relationships, or connection to the values and people that supported your development before external validation became available. The family priority that Paul demonstrated throughout his career, including his relationship with his son Chance, establishes a template for balancing professional ambition with personal relationships that provide meaning and support independent of external achievement or recognition. The financial wisdom that allowed Paul to achieve security while maintaining focus on creative and cultural goals rather than purely commercial considerations provides a template for approaching money as tool for freedom and service rather than primary measure of worth or success. The cultural sensitivity that Paul demonstrated in his international work establishes a template for engaging with different communities and audiences in ways that create mutual respect and understanding, rather than exploitation or artificial representation designed primarily to serve your own interests. The creative integrity that Paul maintained throughout his career provides a template for approaching artistic and professional work with standards that serve quality and authenticity, rather than just commercial appeal or external expectations that might compromise your values or vision. The legacy planning that Paul has undertaken in his later years provides a template for thinking about how your work and achievements can continue to benefit others long after your direct involvement ends, creating value that compounds over time rather than disappearing when you do. The mentorship approach that Paul developed with younger colleagues provides a template for sharing knowledge and opportunity in ways that empower others while continuing your own growth and learning, creating mutual benefit rather than hierarchical relationships that serve only one party's interests. The community engagement that characterizes Paul's ongoing relationship with Australia demonstrates how authentic success includes responsibility to contribute positively to the communities and cultures that supported your development, creating ongoing reciprocal relationships rather than extractive ones. Chapter 5. Building Bridges to the Future. The most profound aspect of Paul Hogan's legacy lies in his creation of permanent structures, cultural, professional, and psychological, that continue to serve future generations by providing pathways for achievement, frameworks for authentic representation, and proof that ordinary people can create extraordinary positive impact when guided by genuine values and commitment to serving others. The entertainment industry infrastructure that Paul helped establish through his international success continues to provide opportunities for emerging Australian talent to access global markets and audiences, creating ongoing pathways that wouldn't exist without his pioneering work in proving that authentic Australian content could achieve commercial and cultural success worldwide. There are millions of people around the world who first learned about Australia through Crocodile Dundee and Paul Hogan, but this educational impact continues to generate benefits for Australia's tourism, business, and cultural sectors as international audiences maintain positive associations that translate into ongoing economic and diplomatic advantages. The creative confidence that Paul instilled in Australian entertainment industry through his success continues to influence how local content is developed, funded, and marketed, as investors and creators approach Australian stories with expectations of potential international success rather than limitations based on geographical or cultural constraints. The cultural diplomacy template that Paul established through his work as unofficial ambassador continues to guide how Australia approaches international cultural exchange, trade promotion, and relationship building, proving that authentic representation can achieve diplomatic results that formal government programs might struggle to accomplish. I think this is home. He's always been home for him, reflecting Paul's continued connection to Australia despite international opportunities, providing a template for how global success can enhance rather than replace local identity and community connections that provide meaning beyond professional achievement. The business partnership models that Paul and John Cornell developed for independent production continue to influence how creative projects are structured, financed, and distributed, providing templates that emerging filmmakers and entrepreneurs can adapt for contemporary opportunities while building on proven approaches to authentic content creation. The educational programs and cultural institutions that were inspired by Paul's success continue to develop curricula and exchange opportunities that facilitate international understanding while celebrating local character, multiplying his impact through systematic programming that reaches new generations of students and cultural ambassadors. The research and academic study that continues to examine Paul's cultural impact provides ongoing insights about effective representation, authentic communication, and the relationship between entertainment success and positive social change, creating knowledge that informs policy development across multiple fields and institutions. The technological innovations and creative techniques that emerged from Paul's projects have been incorporated into industry standard practices, creating permanent improvements in how authentic local content is developed and distributed globally while maintaining cultural integrity and commercial viability. The international networks and relationships that were established through Paul's cultural work continue to facilitate ongoing collaboration and exchange, providing foundations for business partnerships, cultural programs, and diplomatic initiatives that benefit multiple communities and organizations across different sectors. The mentorship traditions that Paul established through his work with emerging talent continue to influence how established figures approach their responsibilities to support and guide newer generations, creating ongoing cycles of knowledge transfer and opportunity creation that multiply individual impact through collective development. The charitable and community service models that Paul has supported throughout his career provide templates for how successful individuals can use their resource and influence to address social needs while inspiring others to contribute their own talents and resources to collective benefit rather than purely personal advancement. The family and personal relationship approaches that Paul has demonstrated throughout his life provide examples of how professional success can be balanced with authentic human connections that provide meaning and support independent of external achievement or recognition, creating sustainable foundations for long-term satisfaction and contribution. The cultural preservation and celebration initiatives that were inspired by Paul's success continue to support efforts to maintain and share Australian character and values while adapting to changing circumstances and opportunities, ensuring that positive cultural development continues across generations. The economic development strategies that capitalize on positive cultural associations created through Paul's work continue to benefit multiple industries and communities, creating ongoing returns on cultural investment that demonstrate the practical value of authentic representation and cultural confidence. The psychological and social research that studies the impact of Paul's approach to success continues to generate insights about resilience, authentic achievement, and community confidence that inform educational programming, leadership development, and community building initiatives across diverse contexts and populations. Chapter 6: The Wisdom That Endures. Beyond all material achievements and cultural impact, Paul Hogan's most valuable legacy may be the collection of life wisdom that emerges from his extraordinary journey, insights about character, success, relationship, and service that continue to provide guidance for anyone seeking to build a meaningful life that creates value for others while remaining true to authentic values and aspirations. The understanding that authentic character beats artificial sophistication in creating lasting success continues to influence how people approach their personal and professional development, providing encouragement for those who might otherwise feel disadvantaged by their background, education, or current circumstances. He had the courage to live the dream, but Paul's courage wasn't reckless risk-taking or desperate ambition. It was calculated willingness to pursue meaningful goals while maintaining strong relationships and authentic values, demonstrating that real courage includes wisdom about what's worth risking and what should be preserved, regardless of external opportunities. The demonstration that serving others creates more sustainable satisfaction than serving yourself continues to influence how people approach their careers, relationships, and community involvement, providing a template for finding purpose and meaning that extends beyond personal advancement or recognition. John was egalitarian, and he was also values-driven, and he did things for the good of all, describing the partnership approach that guided Paul's most successful collaborative relationships and continues to inform how effective teamwork can be structured to benefit all participants rather than just serving individual interests. The proof that ordinary beginnings don't determine extraordinary potential continues to inspire people facing their own transitions from familiar circumstances to unknown possibilities, demonstrating that background becomes asset rather than limitation when combined with authentic character and commitment to growth and service. The wisdom that genuine success requires building rather than burning, connecting rather than dividing, and including rather than excluding continues to influence how people approach competition, collaboration, and community building in all aspects of their personal and professional lives. Before I got into television and entertainment, working on the bridge was a huge advantage because it gave me a perspective, demonstrating that every experience contains valuable lessons when approached with curiosity and willingness to learn, providing wisdom about how to extract value from challenges and setbacks. The understanding that cultural authenticity enhances rather than limits international appeal continues to influence how individuals and organizations approach global opportunities while maintaining connection to their roots, values, and distinctive characteristics that provide competitive advantages when expressed with confidence. The recognition that sustainable success requires adaptation without abandonment of core values continues to guide people through life transitions and industry changes, providing wisdom about how to evolve and grow while maintaining authentic identity and meaningful relationships. The demonstration that humor, humility, and genuine care for others create stronger foundations for success than aggression, arrogance, or manipulative behavior continues to influence how people approach leadership, relationship building, and professional development across diverse fields and circumstances. He still likes making people laugh. He likes entertaining people, capturing the service orientation that provides sustainable motivation for continued contribution long after external recognition or financial necessity might justify continued effort, demonstrating that authentic purpose creates energy rather than depleting it. The wisdom that family and personal relationships provide meaning that professional achievement cannot replace continues to guide how people balance ambition with authentic human connection, creating templates for sustainable life planning that serves multiple aspects of human need and aspiration. The understanding that legacy is measured by positive impact on others rather than personal accumulation continues to influence how people think about success, contribution, and the use of whatever talents and resources they possess to create value that extends beyond their individual lives and circumstances. The proof that patience and persistence guided by clear values achieve more sustainable results than desperate urgency or artificial timeline pressure continues to provide wisdom for anyone pursuing long-term goals while maintaining perspective, relationships, and authentic character throughout the development process. The demonstration that effective mentorship involves empowering others rather than creating dependency continues to influence how established figures approach their responsibilities to emerging talent, creating models for knowledge transfer and opportunity sharing that multiply individual impact through collective development. The recognition that genuine confidence comes from authentic competence and service to others, rather than artificial superiority or competitive dominance, continues to guide personal development approaches that create sustainable self-respect and meaningful relationships with colleagues and communities. Chapter 7. The Cultural Ambassador's Eternal Mission. Paul Hogan's role as Cultural Ambassador represents not just a phase of his career, but an eternal mission that continues to generate benefits for Australia and international understanding long after his active involvement in formal entertainment or promotional activities. This ambassadorial legacy operates through ongoing positive associations, continued cultural exchange, and the template he established for authentic representation that serves collective rather than individual interests. The international goodwill that Paul created through his authentic representation of Australian character continues to benefit Australia's relationships with other nations, providing soft power advantages in diplomatic negotiations, trade agreements, and multilateral cooperation that extend far beyond entertainment industry contexts. Into the bus to the world he really did. We became proud to be fair dinkum Aussies after Paul Hogan, capturing both the international impact of Paul's cultural ambassadorship and its domestic effect on Australian confidence and cultural identity, creating dual benefits that continue to serve national interests across multiple sectors. The tourism infrastructure and promotional strategies that were developed to capitalize on Paul's cultural impact established permanent improvements in how Australia presents itself to international visitors, creating systems and expectations that continue to benefit the tourism industry decades after his peak celebrity involvement. The business relationship networks that were facilitated by positive cultural associations created through Paul's work continue to generate opportunities for trade, investment, and collaboration between Australian companies and international partners who maintain positive impressions of Australian character and business practices. The educational exchange programs and cultural initiatives that were inspired or enhanced by Paul's success in building cultural bridges continue to facilitate international understanding while providing opportunities for Australian students, researchers, and cultural figures to develop global connections and collaborations. The media representation standards that Paul established through his authentic portrayal of Australian characters continue to influence international entertainment industry expectations about how Australians can be portrayed, creating ongoing opportunities for local performers and content creators while maintaining positive cultural associations. The language and cultural expressions that Paul popularized through his international success became permanent parts of global understanding of Australian communication style, creating ongoing cultural bridges that facilitate connection and understanding between Australian and international audiences across diverse contexts. The diplomatic relationship patterns that were enhanced by Paul's cultural work continue to provide advantages in international forums where positive cultural associations translate into increased credibility, trust, and willingness to collaborate on shared challenges and opportunities. The academic and research institutions that study Paul's cultural impact continue to generate insights about effective cultural diplomacy that inform policy development, cultural programming, and international relationship strategies across government, business, and educational sectors. The technological and creative innovations that emerge from Paul's international projects continue to influence how authentic local content is developed and distributed globally, providing templates and techniques that benefit contemporary content creators while maintaining cultural integrity and commercial viability. The charitable and development initiatives that were inspired by Paul's commitment to using success for service continue to address international needs while building positive relationships between Australian organizations and global communities, multiplying his impact through systematic service programming. The cultural preservation and celebration efforts that Paul's success helped inspire continue to support maintenance and development of Australian cultural identity while facilitating sharing of those values and perspectives with international audiences who benefit from exposure to different approaches to life and community. The economic development strategies that capitalize on positive cultural associations created through Paul's work continue to benefit multiple Australian industries and regions, creating ongoing returns on cultural investment that demonstrate the practical value of authentic representation and cultural confidence in global markets. The psychological and social research that examines the impact of positive cultural representation continues to provide insights about community confidence, achievement motivation, and international relationship building that inform educational programming and policy development across diverse institutions and contexts. The mentorship and knowledge transfer traditions that Paul established through his work with international partners continue to facilitate ongoing collaboration and learning exchange that benefits emerging talent and established professionals across entertainment, business, and cultural sectors. The family and community engagement models that Paul has demonstrated throughout his international career provide templates for how global success can enhance rather than replace local identity and relationships, creating sustainable approaches to international engagement that serve multiple constituencies and values simultaneously. Chapter 8. The Bridge That Never Falls. As Paul Hogan's active career winds down, the ultimate measure of his legacy lies not in any single achievement or recognition, but in the creation of an eternal bridge, a permanent structure of understanding, opportunity, and cultural connection that will continue to serve others long after he is gone, proving that the most meaningful success is that which enables and empowers others to achieve their own authentic goals. The permanence of Paul's cultural bridge is evidenced by its continued utility decades after its construction, as new generations of artists, entrepreneurs, and cultural figures continue to benefit from the pathways he created, the standards he established, and the confidence he instilled in the possibility of achieving international success while remaining authentically Australian. You can look back and say, God, what a great career he had, and be proud of him. I'm amazed, but I wouldn't tell anybody that until I was probably about the age I am now, reflecting the growing appreciation for Paul's contributions that occurs as their lasting impact becomes increasingly clear over time. The structural integrity of Paul's cultural bridge demonstrates that authentic achievement creates more durable foundations than artificial success, as the positive associations and genuine relationships he built continue to support ongoing cultural and economic exchange between Australia and international communities. The load-bearing capacity of Paul's bridge continues to support increasing traffic as more people discover and benefit from the pathways he created, proving that genuine service to others creates expanding rather than diminishing returns over time, with each beneficiary potentially becoming a source of benefit for others. The maintenance requirements for Paul's cultural bridge are minimal because it was built on foundations of authentic character and genuine value rather than artificial promotion or temporary fashion, demonstrating that sustainable achievement requires integrity and substance rather than just clever marketing or strategic positioning. The engineering principles that guided Paul's bridge construction, careful planning, quality materials, attention to detail, commitment to serving others, continue to provide templates for contemporary bridge builders seeking to create their own lasting contributions to cultural understanding and international cooperation. There are millions of people around the world who first learned about Australia through Crocodile Dundee and Paul Hogan, demonstrating the educational impact of Paul's bridge that continues to facilitate learning and understanding long after the original construction, creating permanent additions to global cultural knowledge and appreciation. The environmental integration of Paul's cultural bridge shows how authentic achievement enhances rather than damages the cultural landscape in which it operates, creating positive changes that serve both local and international interests rather than benefiting one at the expense of another. The safety features built into Paul's bridge include its foundation on genuine respect for all cultures involved, ensuring that the connections it facilitates are based on mutual benefit and understanding rather than exploitation or one-sided advantage that might create resentment or instability over time. The accessibility of Paul's bridge to people from diverse backgrounds and circumstances demonstrates that authentic achievement creates opportunities for others rather than restricting them to elite groups or privileged populations, proving that genuine success serves democratic rather than exclusionary purposes. The technological adaptability of Paul's cultural bridge allows it to continue serving its purpose even as communication methods, entertainment formats, and international relationship patterns evolve, because it was built on timeless principles of authenticity, service, and genuine character that transcend temporary circumstances. The expansion possibilities inherent in Paul's bridge design allow for continued development and enhancement by others who build on his foundations while adding their own contributions, 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 while adding the creating ongoing cultural infrastructure development that serves expanding numbers of people across increasing varieties of exchange and collaboration. The inspection and evaluation systems that monitor Paul's Bridge show consistently positive performance metrics in tourism benefits, while cultural understanding, international relationship quality, and ongoing utility for diverse users, confirming that investments in authentic cultural development generate sustainable returns. The documentation and study of Paul's bridge construction continues to provide valuable insights for contemporary bridge builders facing similar challenges in different contexts, creating educational resources that multiply his impact through knowledge transfer and applied learning across multiple projects and initiatives. The celebration and recognition of Paul's Bridge by both Australian and international communities demonstrates that authentic achievement creates lasting gratitude and positive association that enhance rather than diminish over time, proving that genuine service generates sustainable appreciation rather than temporary acknowledgement. Epilogue: The eternal journey continues. As Paul Hogan's extraordinary personal journey approaches its natural conclusion, the eternal bridge he built between cultures, generations, and possibilities continues to carry ever-increasing traffic of dreams, aspirations, and authentic achievements that honor his legacy, while creating new contributions to the expanding infrastructure of human understanding and cultural connection. Paul Hogan remains a vivid symbol of a golden era, but his significance extends far beyond representing the past, to include his ongoing role as inspiration for future bridge builders who will face their own challenges and opportunities to create lasting positive impact through authentic character, genuine service, and commitment to building rather than burning the bridges that connect us all. The bridge worker who learned to connect separate places created something far more enduring than any physical structure, a permanent pathway between what was and what could be, between ordinary beginnings and extraordinary possibilities, between individual achievement and collective benefit that transforms personal success into shared opportunity. I think eventually he will come back to Australia for sure. I think this is home. He's always been home for him, reflecting not just Paul's geographic preferences, but the eternal truth that authentic achievement always serves the communities and values that shaped its development, creating ongoing reciprocal relationships rather than extractive ones. The mathematical precision of a bridge worker's mind applied to cultural ambassadorship created structures that continue to bear weight, span distances, and facilitate connection long after their original designer has moved on to other projects or peaceful retirement, proving that engineering principles apply to human relationships and cultural development as much as to physical construction. His life to me is all about a fundamentally very sound, grounded human being who had the courage to live the dream. But Paul's dream was never just personal advancement. It was the vision of a world where authentic character could achieve meaningful success while serving others, where cultural differences could create connection rather than division, and where ordinary people could accomplish extraordinary things through dedication and integrity. The eternal nature of Paul's Bridge lies not in any physical monument or permanent institution, but in the changed thinking patterns of people who learn through his example, that success doesn't require abandoning your authentic self, that international achievement can enhance rather than replace local identity, and that the most sustainable satisfaction comes from creating value for others rather than just advancing your own interests. The bridge connecting Paul's working-class origins to international recognition continues to carry traffic of hope for everyone facing their own transitions from familiar circumstances to unknown possibilities, proving that background becomes foundation rather than limitation when combined with authentic character and commitment to growth and service. The cultural bridge that Paul built between Australia and the world continues to facilitate economic, educational, and diplomatic exchange that generates ongoing benefits for multiple communities and nations, demonstrating that genuine cultural ambassadorship creates permanent positive change rather than temporary promotional advantage. The generational bridge that Paul constructed through his mentorship relationships and collaborative partnerships continues to transfer knowledge, opportunity, and inspiration from established figures to emerging talent, creating expanding circles of influence that multiply his impact through diverse applications and innovations. The bridge between entertainment and education that Paul created through his authentic cultural representation continues to teach international audiences about Australian character and values while inspiring domestic confidence in local distinctiveness and global potential, proving that entertainment can serve higher purposes than mere commercial success. The technological bridge that Paul's work created between traditional media and contemporary communication continues to evolve and adapt, while maintaining its core function of facilitating understanding and connection across cultural boundaries, demonstrating that authentic foundations can support ongoing innovation and development. The spiritual bridge that Paul built through his demonstration that success can serve others rather than just yourself continues to inspire people seeking meaningful rather than merely profitable achievement, providing templates for finding purpose and satisfaction through contribution to collective benefit rather than individual advancement. The eternal journey that Paul's legacy represents continues through everyone who learns from his example that authentic character combined with genuine service can achieve results that artificial sophistication or manipulative strategy could never accomplish, that building bridges creates more sustainable success than burning them, and that the most meaningful monuments are not physical structures but positive changes in how people think about themselves, their potential, and their responsibility to contribute something valuable to the world they temporarily inhabit. As the bridge worker who became a bridge builder concludes his remarkable personal journey, the eternal bridge he constructed continues to span the distances between dreams and reality, between individual achievement and collective benefit, between what was and what could be, carrying the hopes and aspirations of future generations who will build their own bridges on foundations he established through his commitment to authentic character, genuine service, and the revolutionary understanding that the most enduring success is that which enables others to achieve their own authentic goals while remaining true to themselves and their values. The Eternal Bridge stands as Paul Hogan's greatest achievement, not because it honors him, but because it continues to serve others long after its builder has moved on to whatever comes next, proving that the bridge worker's most profound understanding was always correct. The most beautiful and useful bridges are those that appear effortless and natural, while actually requiring enormous skill and dedication to create, and the most successful bridge builders are those whose work continues to carry traffic long after they themselves have crossed over to whatever lies beyond the span of any single life, leaving behind structures of connection and possibility that make the world a more hopeful and accessible place for everyone who follows.